So walk us through that day when you found out that you're underpaid.
Oh man, I don't remember the day, but I remember the guy. And I was 2 years in. I had just gotten back from the UKG Innovation Summit. I mean, I was riding high. Our work was about to be featured in Apple's iOS 7 keynote. So, like, there was a lot of adrenaline going on. I'm feeling good. And this guy who had just started, he was brand new, no skills whatsoever. He came to me, and I live in Dallas, and he complained to me. He was legitimately upset and thought he was confiding in a comrade in arms, saying, "Man, it's really hard to live." And then he lived in this Red Sea area of Dallas. I'm like, "What are you doing there? That's a poor decision to start with." And it was really hard to live on this certain salary, and he named the salary in this expensive part of Dallas. And I was shocked to learn that not only was he making exactly the same amount of money that I was making at the time, despite my years of experience on him, I was training him and basically rewriting all of his code.
Yeah.
But even worse, he had been hired at 50,
Mm.
50% more than me than when I had started just 2 years previous.
Wow.
And up until that point, I had suspected that I was underpaid, but like most women, you kind of talk yourself out of, well, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe this, or maybe that. And this was the hard, solid truth that, yes, Lauren, you're underpaid.
Yeah.
And that's what started the journey was, oh my God, this company paid a guy more than me, and he's making the same amount as me, and I'm running circles around him.
Yeah.
And I was mad for maybe a week, maybe two. And then I took action, and I invested in a female salary negotiation coach. I invested money that I did not have at the time. I was barely scraping by, and I maxed out a credit card for this. And she even said, good luck. And I'm friends with her to this day. I have far surpassed what she ever thought I'd do, but I was so scared. And even just asking for $20,000 more terrified me. But I ultimately ended up getting 6 figures more in just 2 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you asked for help. You're like, let's figure out an action plan. Let's find a strategy. Let's learn the skill so that eventually we can always negotiate more. Because I think sometimes when we think of, these things more emotionally, then we can end up feeling like a victim or feeling like, oh, I'll always be stuck. But we don't think that, oh, this is actually a skill. And if I can learn it, and that's what you did with the coach. You learned the skills so you can continuously make more money, and the investment pays for itself. Like,
oh, absolutely. In my online program, I have a money back guarantee. Like, if you do not earn this, if you do not negotiate for this much more, and the course does not pay for itself, I will give you your money back. More likely, I'll get involved.
Yeah.
Which is even better. But like, that is how confident I am. And here's the thing, like, it doesn't just pay itself back once. That new baseline levels up every single negotiation. If you negotiate for $10,000 more, well, guess your starting point for your next negotiation is now $10,000 more, and it builds and it's cumulative.
Yeah.
And so, $2,500 investment today could mean, making 500 to $1 million more over the lifetime of your earnings. And like, my only regret looking back, I mean, at the time I almost didn't invest in her. My only regret looking back is that I didn't invest in coaches and online training sooner. I would pay 10 times that amount of money I invested looking back to do it sooner because it had that much impact on my life.
Yeah. And I think early on, I mean, I know we've had this conversation on Zoom all those years ago when I invited you to her STEM story. I remember having this exact conversation.
It was one of the first podcast interviews I did.
Yeah.
But here's the secret. Like, and I have this conversation with other women leaders. I'm not friends with as many women in tech because there aren't as many women in tech leaders.
Yeah.
But I have friends who are professionals, so are women executives in other industries. And the conversation that I have over and over again is what they don't realize. The most frequent question I get asked when I get on stage and then give my keynote and then do a Q&A is, how did you find your mentors? And here's the shocking answer. I, to this day, have not had a mentor. Believe it or not, no mentor. I haven't had a sponsor. I haven't had a mentor. I've had no one to pave the path for me. My dad is a surgeon and actually knows the opposite of good business decisions.
Yeah.
But I didn't let that stop me. I went out when I couldn't afford a coach. I went to the public library and I rented books. And I read the books because books are a cheap way to getting into the success secrets.
Yes.
And then when I had some money, I started off with just a several $100 investment in a coach. And when I needed a mentor to show me the way, I went out and I paid money for expert advice.
Yes.
And that's what I do myself. To this day, I have 3 or 4 coaches right now, different types of coaches to support me in my growth. And I talk with other men and women, top leaders and performers and executives. And it's not, occasionally I'll hear someone who had a sponsor or a mentor who showed them the way. Most of them had paid for the coaching. And that's the best kept secret, is that people keep waiting. I had one woman say, well, I'm not lucky like you. I don't have a mentor. And I said, hey, I want to correct that. I also don't let that stop you. Invest in the future that you want. That is the most, and you are an asset.